Welcome to the Robotics Through Science Fiction podcast. I'm Dr. Robin Murphy, and in this episode, I'll share my list of favorite funny sci-fi robot books. So, are you looking for gift-giving ideas for others, like from a Silicon Valley software engineer to a teenager, or ideas to put on your Dear Santa or birthday list? Or are you just looking for something to read that won't turn your head to mush or be so deep that you might as well be reading a dry textbook? Well, look no further. We have 9 books or series about robots where you'll be laughing so hard you'll have to put the book down or the mobile device down from time to time. And most are family friendly, and all of them touch on some aspect of real-world robotics, so you can kind of count this as mental continuing education.
So the absolute top of my list, Murderbot, the Murderbot Diaries, where bad software engineering is almost murder. Martha Wells' Murderbot Diaries is a series of novellas, each of a quick read of about 3 hours. The first installment, All Systems Red, won the 2017 Nebula, and Artificial Condition, Exit Strategy are just as fun, and a full-length book is out due this year. So the tale is told from the viewpoint of the protagonist named Murderbot, who is not a serial killer, as the name would suggest, but who is in fact a transcendentally shallow and superficial being. It openly hates interacting with people, and it maintains a running, snarky inner dialogue. Imagine David Spade as a bored robot mall guard. Now, when Murderbot gains full autonomy through a bad software engineering patch, it doesn't try to lead a robot uprising. Instead, it uses its freedom to surreptitiously spend its free time watching entertainment feeds and slacking off. Every now and then, it gets sucked into protecting the hapless scientist it's working for from the Weytan-Yutani alien type of evil corporation. So did I mention software engineering? You know how in the movies like John Wick, there's this constant backdrop of knives and guns and broken glass laying around to be used? Well, buggy software, buggy patches, bad cybersecurity, lazy programming, that's the weapons, the equivalent in the Murderbot Diaries. And so that's really both funny and sadly true. Okay, the same buggy updates you get for phone apps and software is the same crap we get with robots now, except robots can actually damage themselves or the real world. First thing we teach unmanned aerial systems pilots is not to run the update until lots of other people have and posted it to the discussion boards. So read the Murderbot Diaries and ponder what if robots or cars were as buggy and programmed with the same care and dedication as apps are programmed now, and be afraid. Be very afraid. And check out the interview with Martha Wells too. She's a very fun person. A close second is the Lockin Headon series by John Scalzi. It's a very droll view of life from a telepresent FBI agent. So imagine a near future where a virus has incapacitated 1% of the population, and they're nicknamed Heydons after the Heydon syndrome that they have. They're unable to move their bodies, but because we've got really good brain-machine interfaces, their minds roam Ready Player One cyberspace. But more interestingly, they roam meat space in practical robot bodies. So, well, at first that sounds like an opportunity for a major pity party and a sentimental journey, sort of surrogates, only with less attractive mediated embodiment. Nah, this is Scalzi, and his characters roll with the punches and pop back with rapid fire wit. For example, the robot bodies are called threeps because they look like C-3PO. And instead of emotional hand-wringing, Scalzi has crafted 2 police procedurals where a Heydon FBI agent, Chris Shane, and her partner, who makes Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon look dull and boring, they solve crimes that have a unique telerobotic flavor or twist. And because it's a Scalzi book, it's packed full of amusing situations and dry observations about life, video games, the realities of telecommuting, and corporate greed. You don't have to read the books in order, but it's more fun that way. And as a bonus for fans of ancillary justice, See if you can tell if Chris is male or female because Scalzi avoided making explicit declaration. And playing along, Audible released 2 audiobook versions, one with a male narrator, Will Wheaton, and the other with a female narrator, Amber Vincent. Now, I'm an avowed feminist, but I recommend Wheaton. He narrates most of Scalzi's books, and he captures that right tone perfectly. He is Aaron to Scalzi's Moses. Who knew that Wesley Crusher was going to make good one day? So really, it's a great introduction to telerobotics and telecommuting, and just so much fun to read. I really hope someone will create the robot game Hellcata that Scalzi talks about. Number 3, the automatic detective. It's tough being a detective without dexterous manipulation. So you don't have to have ever listened to Guy Knorr on A Prairie Home Companion or have read Hard Luck Hank or The Rules of Supervillainy to enjoy The Automatic Detective. But if you have liked any of those, you will definitely love this spoof on the film noir detective genre. It has the mad scientist charms of Despicable Me with a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sort of scenario. So Mac Megaton is, well, duh, a hulking robot. He was originally designed to be a weapon, but he's opted out of the military. He's trying to earn his full autonomy, citizenship. He's working as a taxi driver in the steamy side of Empire City, the mutagenic capital of weird science. When his nice neighbors are nefariously kidnapped, because after all, what other kind of kidnapping is there besides nefarious? Mac begins a reluctant transformation from a good-hearted lug into a hardball detective, complete with fedora, trench coat, beautiful dame on his arms, and wonderfully stereotypical movie dialogue. We know how the book will end, but the humorous journey is the destination in The Automatic Detective. And it's a great opportunity to learn about manipulation and dexterous grasping. No, not the political manipulation grasping, but how robots pick up and handle objects, because Mac has those standard robot pincher types of hands and can't pick up things easily. Manipulation is one of the hardest problems in robotics. I mean, we don't have robot hands with the kind of tactile sensing that our hands have, and touch actually guides our grasping and helps us hold on tight to, say, an adult beverage, and at the same time also allows us not to crush an egg when we're getting ready to make breakfast. So read the discussion on manipulation on the website. Anyway, The Automatic Detective is very good, and check out the interview with Lee Martinez. He's funny. Prey of Gods. We wonder how to program emotions. In the meantime, robots could be holding grudges. So if I told you the book was about a near future with viral infections, genetic engineering, robots, and gender bending, you'd say, oh, that sounds like Autonomous, right? And what if I told you it was also about South African gods and their descendants in Cape Town? Now it sounds like American gods are Nazi boys, except it isn't Newitz or Gaiman. It's Nikki Drayton and her fun romp, The Prey of Gods. In one of the subplots, everyone except the poorest person has a personal assistant robot, a 1 meter high, multi-legged robot that functions as a smartphone, laptop computer, and backpack. The cheapest versions are the durable alphas, and just like the minions in Despicable Me, the little mono camera alphas just want to do a good job. And teenage boys, being teenage boys, may either be too sentimental about their bot or are too rough and abusive. So the problem is that the robots actually have emotions, either nice, positive love and devotion, or pretty serious grudges, either of which could impact saving the world from the South African supernatural deity trying to take over. So check it out, and check out the interview with author Nikki Drake. She's a smart software programmer who writes on the side. The Complete Roderick. You know, what if you really designed a robot to learn like a child? You know, that's been an eternal question of artificial intelligence since at least Alan's Turing time. Yeah, he thought of that too. Why can't a robot learn like a child? Well, the idea of programming a robot like the tabula rasa of a baby has become a major area of serious research. Check out Josh Tenenbaum's work for some great examples. Now, the Complete Roderick is a dark screwball comedy. It's sort of a Douglas Adams mashup with Dark Mirror, and it addresses the question head on. It assumes that a robot can learn like a baby, but then goes further and asks, what exactly would a robot learn if it was raised like a child and went to school? That children are bullies, teachers are fallible, that corporations will try to steal and reverse technology, that people act in their own narrow self-interest, that love is often unrequited. Oops, maybe that's not really what we want when we say learn like a child. So the Complete Roderick sags a bit from occasional forced humor and zaniness, but it's definitely worth reading, if only because Sladek has essentially written a history of artificial intelligence for robotics. And it's like a who's who in the founding of artificial intelligence. It's like Joe Walton's Brilliant Pan, among others, only with AI researchers substituting for science fiction authors. The Robot Proletariat. Upstairs, downstairs with robot ethics. The Robot Proletariat series features the robots in a British manor in a near future where there are still upper-class British twits. Upper-class British twits with sex robots. Anyway, one of the robot butlers discovers linen and, having missed the part about how that all ended, embraces socialism and goes on a crusade to recruit his fellow bots. They subvert their programming to become autonomous, but with a stiff upper lip, they continue to work and plan for a bloodless, classy robot uprising. It's a good thought about piece about ethics, and it echoes a lot of the concerns that are discussed in the European Union about robot rights. Me personally, I think the focus on robot rights is too abstract and too futuristic. I am more worried about the here and now of lethal autonomous weapons. I'm really concerned about the lack of liability for for products, of robot products, and also the creepy child-sized sex robots. So check out the pages for the Foundation for Responsible Robotics if you're interested in robot ethics. A lot of good stuff there. But you don't have to be into robot ethics to enjoy Robot Proletariat. It's pretty funny. The wrong unit. The wrong unit is the right book for quick fun. I mean, do you miss the Big Bang Theory? Okay, imagine, what if Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory was a robot assigned to help people after the robot uprising? And what if the robot, in a classic sitcom case of mistaken identity, became part of the human revolution to thwart that said robot uprising? Well, if that were true, you'd have the wrong unit. It's a fast-moving comedy that tells of the human resistance to robot world domination from the viewpoint of a clueless robot overlord. Unlike Murderbot, Heyu believes it likes people. But like Murderbot, its point of view is just so hysterically unexpected and funny. It's just delightful. It's also a lovely exploration of mental models. Mental models are that internal model that we have of someone else, of what their beliefs, what their desires, what their intentions are. It's how we can communicate and kind of figure out what people are doing. When we're trying to give robots that kind of mental models of other people, well, unfortunately, with humans, probably with robots, they're not guaranteed to be right. And Heyu's mental model of people is that the inhabitants of the concentration camp are too immature and childish to appreciate their robot overlords who keep them safe, locked up behind the barbed wire because they love them. Yeah, it's fun. Check out the review on our webpage. Ray Electromatic. What a great series, and thanks for all the memories. Ray Electromatic is a robot detective in a sort of 1960s LA noir alternative history. Well, it sounds a lot like The Automatic Detective, right? Set in LA, but no, there's a big difference. And that big difference is that Ray is a private detective as a cover for the job that really pays his electricity bills. He's an assassin because being a robot gives him the certain moral flexibility that we saw in John Cusack in Gross Point Blank. So, book sometimes clever, sometimes rolling the floor laughing, sometimes contradictory. The series is a lot like the episodes of Futurama were written by different people, and the showrunner really didn't check for consistency in Bender's character, but who cares? It's all good fun. Now, Ray's curse in life is that he has only enough onboard memory for about 24 hours. So every day he essentially wakes up with no episodic memory. Episodic memory is the narrative memory, the narrative of things like allows you to remember your best ever Christmas that you had when you were 8 years old. Ray's lack of memory makes for a 50 first dates crossed with Chinatown kind of vibe. Um, in reality, robots don't have trouble with too little storage space for episodic memory. They have trouble forming episodic memories. It's extremely hard. The semantic content, what's important, what's not important, really a tough problem. Well, anyway, the titles alone are great for the Ray Electromatic series. Made to Kill, fair enough. Killing is my business. I only killed him once. And standard Hollywood depravity. I mean, gotta love it. Check it out. Rex Neelo. This series is nominally about the charismatic, not too bright space conman Rex Neelo, but the real star of this sort of Red Dwarf meets Doctor Who meets Hitchhiker's Guide kind of romp is the narrator, the robot Sasha. Working for the ethically challenged Rex puts her in interesting situations because she can't lie. And instead of doing a Victorian swoon, Sasha shuts down for 15 seconds whenever she's about to have an original thought. So just when the determined Zanius gets a bit tiresome, the author throws into a fantastic plot twist or a bon mot that will just have you on the floor laughing. And the series gets better and better as it progresses. My favorite is Out of the Soylent Planet, where Rex in one of his cons winds up in a Soylent Green sort of situation. But everyone knows about Soylent Green, and everyone suspects that's what they're eating. Uh, but the actual source of the food is even more disturbing in a Philip K. Dick sort of way. Pretty funny. And it's a really good insight into this whole automatic governor on autonomy, bounded rationality that we hear about Sasha's intelligence. You really wouldn't do an autonomy governor. You wouldn't program a robot that way. And an autonomy governor is different than bounded rationality. So check out the review and the explanation on the on our webpage. Anyway, it's a fast, fun read too. So there you go. That's 9 books that I recommend for fun reading or listening. And only one's really PG-13, and that would be the Scalzi's Lockin Headon series. They have a bit of sex and intrigue, not on par with Altered Carbon, thank you, but not exactly Disney Frozen 2 either. So keep that in mind. And they do. They serve as virtual case studies. They're educational. Software engineering, telepresence, manipulation, emotions, learning, ethics, mental models, memory, bounded rationality. So learn something.
But don't let the science bog you down. Get the books. You really can't go wrong. And please check out the Robotics Through Science Fiction blog for links to the different books I've mentioned and to learn more about the science. Plus, if you do buy media through the site, I get a tiny % to keep the site going, so thank you in advance.